What's going on? Shane187, kicking it with you. You're kicking it with me. I'm still in Mummy's basement. Once again, second video today. Dropping it like it's hot.
God's DNA, and they were going to try to make a clone out of it, and that it was actually going to be Satan. There was some crazy stuff going on, so they got their children out of there and burnt that church to the ground. I got some other stuff last night. This ain't part of the show either, but we'll get to the alien part because I'm going to send you to the website where you can get it all. All you newbies are just going to be in hog heaven with this website that I'm about to bring you to. But do y'all remember when the big church burned down over in Europe? Was it St. Patrick's Cathedral? Did that burn down over there? What was that? Giant church?
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. Yeah.
Do you know why that church burned down?
Yeah, I heard about it.
I can tell you why it burned down, because they were doing some crazy stuff underground.
Wow.
They were actually they were going to do a giant satanic ritual underneath where they were going to sacrifice like 600 children. And it's been known now through some sources that got in touch with me that somehow these crazy Satanist people had extracted somehow.
I did for a second think that he was going to say white hats. Somehow the white hats managed to step in and save the day, but he did not say that.
Actually, God's DNA, and they were going to try to make a clone out of it, and that it was actually going to be Satan. God's DNA, and they were going to try to make a clone out of it, and that it was actually going to be Satan. It was a true story. There was some crazy stuff going on, so they got their children out of there and burnt that church to the ground in the nick of time. This is a true story that's going to come out shortly. There was some crazy stuff going on, so they got their children out of there and burnt that church. God's DNA, and that it was actually going to be Satan. It was a true story. It was a true story, and I got this from reliable sources. Crazy.
You've got to believe it if he says that he's got it from a reliable source. All right, he wouldn't have just got it from some internet site, would he have?
We've said it before. White hats burnt that church
because of the satanic stuff happening underneath.
Silly me. White hats burnt it down to stop the satanic abuse. I'm not sure.
And the last word they had is that they had got the DNA somehow from Jesus. It's a true story, and they were going to clone him, and they stopped it. And they were, that's just, how evil is that? That is the evilest of evils. It's a true story right there. So, I mean, as big as that was as a church, and the how far it went back, it went up like a timber shack because it was all made out of wood. There was no saving it. It went up. If that was going on there.
So it was all made out of wood. That church was all made out of wood, was it?
Needed to be eliminated. That's just something I heard last night. Crazy stuff. Me and Mike.
Crazy stuff, but it's worth repeating even though it's reliable intel. How can you believe anyone with this sort of credibility? There's no credibility. He's getting back to his childhood, where all this fantasy sounded plausible, where Santa Claus was real and the Easter Bunny was real,